Now, as we all know, the only thing standing between a truly rational atheist and belief in the Bible is the appearance of God in a miraculous form. If only, they say, God would appear to me and perform a miracle right before my very eyes, then I would certainly be convinced. Well, that's not the first time that's been said. Let's get into it. If only God would do something impossible, then I would certainly concede. Now, this isn't something that's just come up recently. This has been the mantra of the unbeliever for a very long time. Take, for example, the Pharisees from the New Testament. Now, if you recall, the Pharisees in the New Testament, they followed Jesus around regularly, and Jesus is doing miracles left and right. In fact, not a few of these miracles were instigated specifically by these Pharisees. They were saying, like, here's this dude who's got all these things wrong with him. By the way, it's the Sabbath. Are you going to heal him or not? And they would try to do these things to trick Jesus, or they would demand signs. It says countless times in the Bible that they were after signs. They would demand signs. And sometimes Jesus would heal a person. He would do a miracle in front of the Pharisees. And they were all converted, right? Not so much. Actually, what would happen is the Pharisees, they would observe these miracles happening right in front of them. And in spite of them specifically, later on they would say, Jesus, do a sign for us. That didn't convince them when they saw the signs. They weren't happy with all the signs and the miracles that they already had. They would continue to ask for more signs. They would continue to make up excuses for their unbelief. Now, of course, the truth is that their unbelief is a result of their stubborn, hard hearts, a rejection of the Holy Spirit. See Acts 7:51. But they would ask for signs to justify, well, certainly we would believe that this is the Christ if only he would give us a sign. And eventually Jesus says, you know what? The only sign you're going to get now, like after all these signs that I keep doing, all these miracles that I keep doing, these public things, you're going to get the sign of Jonah. You're going to get that just as Jonah was in the belly of the great fish for 3 days, so too the Son of Man will be in the belly of the earth for 3 days. Him being in the tomb, and then Easter Sunday, right? So they're asking for these signs over and over and over again. And despite seeing all these signs, they're still not convinced. This is a pattern with people. Now, you could show them something right to their face, and they could go home and say, well, you know what? Maybe I dreamt that. Maybe I remembered it wrong. Maybe there was some smoke and mirrors. Maybe there's all kinds of excuses. You can make an excuse for anything that you see, anything you observe or test. So to say, I would be convinced if a miracle happened in front of me, I have doubts. I have doubts that the miracle, the one that hasn't happened yet, that's going to be the one that really convinces you. Now, there was a miracle that happened. This was an important miracle. We're going to go back to the Old Testament here for this one. Isaiah is talking to King Ahaz. King Ahaz, he is the king of Judah at the time. Now, King Ahaz is not known for his bravery. In fact, the Bible specifically says this about him in chapter 7 of Isaiah. It says, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. That's who you want as your king, this dude shaking like a tree in the wind. Him and all of his people, because if a leader tends to lose courage, then the followers will as well. So I hold him responsible for that. But then again, everybody has their own sin. Anyways, moving on. So Isaiah comes, God tells Isaiah, he says, go to Ahaz, deliver this message. And Isaiah goes to Ahaz and basically promises a sign. He promises a miracle. This is what the text says. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. This is through Isaiah. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven. But Ahaz said, I will not ask. I will not put my Lord to the test. Oh, what a pious king this Ahaz is. He's not going to put God to the test. After all, we know you shall not test the Lord your God, right? Well, here's the thing. He's not going out and trying to pick a fight with God, saying, you know what, God, I don't believe you're real. Why don't you give me a sign? What's happening is God is promising him a sign through Isaiah. Ahaz is being promised a sign. And God says, guess what? I'm going to give you a sign. And you get to pick what it is. You get to pick anything, as high as the heavens or as low as Sheol, the place of the dead. Pick a sign. Now, Ahaz could have said, let me walk on water like Peter did, or stop the sun in the sky, or turn the river into blood, or any of these signs. He could have said, give me the power of flight and shoot fire from my fingertips or so. He could have picked anything. But he didn't. Instead, he cringed back. He pulled back and shook like a tree and said, oh no, I'm not going to test the Lord my God. What a wimp. What a wimp. God is offering him a sign. He's saying, pick anything you want. Anything you want. And Ahaz is just like, I don't know, man. I can't really think of anything. I'm not going to test God. Dude, just listen. He's offering you a sign. It's not, okay, whatever. Anyways, Isaiah picks up on this, and Isaiah's frustration is palpable. I love, this is one of my favorite lines of the Bible, what Isaiah tells the King Ahaz here. Hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary men that you weary my God also? So you're getting on my nerves. And if that's not bad enough, you're gonna be annoying to God too. Now, by all rights, Isaiah, if he wasn't directed by God, God could have walked away and said, you know what, this guy, he's not worth my trouble. I'm offering him something good, and he's cringing back and no, I don't know. I don't want it. I don't know what to do. God could have walked away and said, you know what? I'm gonna make some more people out of mud, and I'm going to make them faithful, unlike you. But he doesn't. He doesn't. Instead, in the faithlessness of King Ahaz and his people, God remains faithful. God picks the sign at that point. No longer does he rely on Ahaz to pick the sign. Instead, God picks the perfect sign. And this is what the promise is. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Well, Emmanuel means God with us. The problem with this verse is not in the verse itself, but in the interpretation that some people have of it. They look at the word virgin. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son. And they want to intentionally translate this. This is unbelievers. They want to intentionally translate this word virgin to mean maiden, a young woman, right? A little bit of a problem with that. So they want to get rid of the virgin birth. And this is how they do it. They translate the word differently. Now, even granted that you translate this word, instead of to virgin, to maiden, think about the implications of this. God says that he's going to give a sign. He asks King Ahaz, as high as heaven or as low as Sheol, what do you want for your sign? A grand sign. Ahaz doesn't pick one. God picks one. Presumably a grand sign, something miraculous, something impossible. Now, if God had chosen an impossible sign, and that sign was a young woman will give birth, ooh, that never happens. In the history of the world, never has a young woman given birth before. What a sign. You can definitely tell this apart from all the other times that young women give birth. It doesn't make sense if you translate this to young woman. This is a sign which is distinct. It stands out. If you've got a sign in a field, the sign doesn't look like all the blades of grass. It is something that sends a message and stands apart from everything around it. It is not translated to young maiden. This is the prophecy of the virgin birth. Duh. Moving forward. This virgin birth is impossible. Now, there's different times in the Bible where barren women are promised children. And a lot of times these women are barren because of old age or medical infirmity or, whatever. There's reasons why these women can't give birth. They have something is wrong with the facilities, the biology. God opens and closes the womb. All children come from God. For one reason or another, these women have not had children, despite having husbands. Now, this virgin giving birth is distinct from that. Even in the case of somebody who is elderly, an elderly woman, who she's got a husband and they're active. They know each other. They know each other in the sense that Adam knew Eve and conceived and bore a son. But the problem is that she's not conceiving, or the conceived child is not implanted, or whatever medical condition, however God closed that womb, this woman is not giving birth. But the components for the child, the necessary ingredients to bake the cake, to put that bun in the oven, if you will, are there. She has a husband. Her womb, while barren, God still works to create children, sometimes in otherwise barren wombs. Again, these are often miraculous things or things of healing, promises. Now, in the case of a virgin birth, it's not that it is rare. It's not that it is biologically difficult. It's not that there is a medical condition that makes implantation difficult or impossible. It is not an elder. In the case of a virgin birth, the necessary ingredients to create a baby are not present. Every single human conception, with one exception, has been a result of a man and a woman. Every single one. Throughout all history, there has always been a man and a woman involved, except for one case. The case of the virgin birth. In the case of a virgin birth, this womb is so devoid of life, even more so than the elderly, than the infirm, than the others who cannot give birth. The womb of the virgin is so devoid of life, it may as well be a place of death. This womb may as well be a tomb. Now, it's Christmas Eve. And as we keep this in mind, this place of death, this tomb, we know that life never rises from a tomb, does it? Except when it does.